Welcome, dear friend. It is so very good of you to choose to spend a little of your precious time with us, here in our quiet corner of the world as we begin our story, The Sunstone's Gentle Resonance. We are most pleased to have your company, just as one might be pleased by the unexpected warmth of a stray sunbeam on a cool afternoon, or the soft coo of a dove settling nearby. Our hope, you see, is a simple one, much like the wishes whispered on dandelion clocks carried by a summer breeze. We hope this gentle tale, with its soft unfoldings and quiet moments, might act as a comforting balm, helping to ease the day's accumulated thoughts and perhaps, just perhaps, guide you softly towards the gentle shores of peaceful slumber. Before you nestle down and allow the story to begin its work, if you find a little warmth and comfort in what we share, do consider offering a little tap of appreciation with a like, and perhaps even subscribing to our humble channel, so that we might meet again in other peaceful tellings. Now let the quietude begin. Chapter 1. The Path to Whispering Vale. The old track, scarcely more than a deer path in places, wound its way with a shy reluctance deeper into the undulating hills, each gentle curve seeming to draw a soft veil between the traveler and the distant hum of peopled lands. Elian, a seeker of quietude with eyes the color of seasoned oak, moved with an unhurried grace, their boots making but the softest crush on the fallen leaves that carpeted the way, a sound like the turning of pages in a very old, very peaceful book. The air itself seemed to grow tender here, losing the crisp edge of the open plains and instead offering a caress, mild and faintly scented with the sweet decay of seasons past and the promise of damp earth, a perfume that spoke of ancient slumber and slow renewal. It was the sort of path that invited not swift passage, but a gradual slowing of the breath, a quietening of the heart's eager drum. Sunlight, no longer bold and direct, filtered down through a high canopy of broad, unfamiliar leaves, each one shaped like an open hand, fingers splayed to catch the light and transform it into 1,000 shifting lozenges of gentle, diffused gold. These luminous shapes danced upon the path ahead, a silent, welcoming procession, their warmth palpable even through the thin soles of Elian's well-worn boots. The colors here were muted, softened as if viewed through a veil of morning mist. The deep olives of the foliage, the russet and ochre of the leaf litter, the occasional shy blue of a tiny, star-like flower peeking from the shelter of a gnarled root. It was a tapestry woven from the quietest threads of nature's loom, inviting the eye to rest and linger, rather than to search. A little further, where the path dipped into a shallow dell, the sound of a tiny, unseen streamlet could be faintly discerned, a mere murmur, like secrets shared between smooth pebbles. It was a sound so delicate it might have been the breathing of the land itself, a gentle exhalation that carried with it the clean, cool scent of water that has known only shade and stone. Elian paused, head tilted, allowing the subtle melody to wash over them, feeling the last vestiges of the world's faint clamor recede, replaced by this profound and elemental peace. Here the trees leaned companionably towards each other, their branches intertwining like the clasped hands of old friends, their leaves rustling in a soft, papery chorus that seemed to affirm the rightness of this slow, inward journey. The scent of the air deepened, becoming richer, imbued now with a faint, almost imperceptible sweetness, as if unseen blossoms, hidden deep within the green shelter, were offering their shy perfume to the gentle breeze. It was not a bold fragrance, nothing to startle or overwhelm, but rather a subtle invitation, a promise of some gentle wonder yet to be discovered. Elian breathed it in slowly, feeling a warmth spread through their chest, a sensation akin to sipping perfectly steeped herbal tea on a cool evening. It was the fragrance of welcome, of safety, of a place where one might finally lay down unseen burdens and simply be. With each step, the feeling of being enfolded, of being gently held by the landscape, grew stronger. The path itself seemed to guide Elian's feet, its yielding surface a comfort, its gentle inclines and declines requiring no exertion, only a willing surrender to its languid course. The very silence here was different, not an emptiness but a fullness, pregnant with the tiny, almost inaudible sounds of growth, of settlement, of the earth's slow, constant turning. It was a silence that soothed, that allowed the mind to unfurl like a fern frond in the dawning light. Then, quite unexpectedly, as the path rounded a moss-covered outcrop of rock that felt cool and damp to the touch, Elian saw it. The entrance to the Whispering Vale was not grand, no archway of stone or parting of ancient trees, but rather a subtle dip in the land, a gentle beckoning where the light seemed to pool with an even softer luminescence. From this unassuming opening, a faint, almost imperceptible warmth emanated, like a soft breath held and then slowly released, carrying with it the faintest whisper of a hum, a vibration so low it was felt more in the bones than heard with the ears. Elian stood at the threshold, a quiet sense of knowing settling upon them, a feeling that this was, indeed, the place their heart had been seeking. A small, plump bird, its feathers the exact shade of a perfectly baked bread crust, landed on a low-hanging branch near the vale's entrance, its tiny, dark eyes regarding Elian with a placid curiosity. It chirped, a single, soft, bell-like note that seemed to hang in the warm air for a moment before dissolving, as if to say, "Welcome, gentle one. The quiet awaits." Elian offered a slow, almost imperceptible nod, a sense of profound peace already beginning to settle over them, like the softest fall of evening dew. Taking a deep, calming breath that seemed to draw in the very essence of the vale's tranquility, the scent of warm earth, damp stone, and that elusive floral sweetness, Elian stepped forward. The transition was subtle, yet distinct. It was as if they had passed through an invisible curtain, leaving behind even the faintest echoes of the outer world, and entered a sanctuary where time itself moved with a more gentle, more considerate cadence. The air here was notably warmer, softer still, wrapping around Elian like the finest, most comforting of shawls, spun from sunlight and silence. Chapter 2. First Touch of Warmth. Stepping fully into the Whispering Vale, Elian was immediately cradled by an atmosphere of such profound and gentle peace that it felt almost like a physical embrace. The air, thick with the scent of warm stone and a delicate honeyed fragrance from some unseen flower, lay soft and still against Elian's skin, a comforting compress that seemed to draw out any lingering chill from the journey. Sunlight, even more tenderly diffused here, filtered through the sheltering leaves above, painting the vale floor in shifting patterns of pale gold and soft mossy green, each hue blending seamlessly into the next, as if mixed by an artist with an eye for perfect serenity. The sounds, too, were hushed, composed of the faintest rustlings from within the dewy undergrowth and the almost inaudible sigh of air currents moving between the gently sloping sides of the small enclosed valley. It was then that Elian first truly noticed them, the sunstones. Several large, ancient-looking stones, their surfaces worn incredibly smooth by eons of wind and perhaps the gentle caress of water, were nestled amongst the soft vegetation, half buried in the yielding earth as if they had grown there. They were not jagged or imposing, but rather possessed rounded, companionable forms, their colors ranging from a pale, creamy gray to a soft, warm terracotta, dappled with patches of lichen that resembled delicate, faded embroidery. They seemed to bask in the pools of gentle sunlight that fell upon them, and from their very substance, a quiet warmth radiated outwards, a gentle invitation to draw near and share in their ancient sun-fed comfort. Hesitantly at first, then with a growing sense of peaceful curiosity, Elian approached the nearest sunstone, a particularly large one with a gently concave surface that looked almost like a shallow, welcoming seat. Its warmth was noticeable even from a few paces away, a dry, clean heat that felt wonderfully soothing. Reaching out a hand, Elian laid it flat against the stone's smooth, sun-kissed surface. The immediate sensation was one of profound comfort, like touching a hearthstone that has held fire's glow long after the flames have died. But then something more, a very low, incredibly subtle hum, a vibration so gentle it was almost indistinguishable from the beating of Elian's own heart. Yet it was undeniably there, thrumming up from the stone, through the palm and into the arm. This gentle resonance traveled through Elian like a slow, warm current, seeking out and softly dissolving knots of tension that had taken residence in muscle and sinew, tensions unnoticed until their gentle release. It was a feeling akin to a sigh of profound relief, not from Elian's lips, but from the very fabric of their being. The hum was not a sound in the conventional sense, but a feeling, a rhythmic pulse that seemed to align with the quietest, deepest rhythms of the earth itself. A small, plump bird, perhaps the very same one from the vale's entrance, with feathers the warm, comforting color of baked clay, landed on a flowering shrub nearby, its leaves a soft, silvery green. It trilled a few soft, inquisitive notes, a delicate counterpoint to the stone's deep thrum, its tiny presence adding another layer to the vale's intricate tapestry of peace. Elian slowly sank down to sit on the yielding moss beside the sunstone, leaning back against its warm, gently vibrating flank. The stone seemed to curve perfectly, offering support that was both firm and deeply comforting. Closing their eyes, Elian focused on the sensation of that deep, quiet hum, feeling it spread through their back, their shoulders, down into their legs, a lullaby for the bones themselves. The warmth of the stone seeped into their clothes, a gentle heat that felt as nurturing as the sun itself, yet softer, more contained. The light filtering through closed eyelids was a gentle, roseate hue, peaceful and unhurried. A faint, sweet scent, like sun-warmed hay mixed with a hint of spice, drifted on the almost still air, perhaps from the crushed herbs beneath Elian's resting form, or from the sunstone itself as it breathed out its accumulated warmth. It was a scent of pure contentment, of simple, uncomplicated being. After a time, it might have been moments, it might have been longer, for time in the Whispering Vale seemed to stretch and soften like warmed honey. Elian opened their eyes, feeling a profound sense of calm, a quietude that had settled deep within. The world within the veil seemed to glow with a gentle inner light, its colors richer, its textures more inviting. Even the silence felt different now, imbued with the sunstone's quiet song. It was a silence that listened, that understood, that held space for the weary heart to rest and recover its own gentle rhythm. Elian traced a finger over the smooth, warm surface of the stone, feeling the faint, almost invisible indentations and ridges, a history written by touch and time. There was a deep sense of companionship with this ancient, silent entity, a feeling of being welcomed, understood, and utterly safe. The small bird, having preened its clay-colored feathers, took a sip of dew from a broad leaf, its tiny movements precise and unhurried. It then offered another short, melodious phrase, as if in gentle agreement with Elian's newfound peace, before flitting off into the deeper green shadows of the veil. Elian watched it go, a soft smile touching their lips, feeling a kinship with all the quiet life that called this gentle sanctuary home. The first touch of warmth from the sunstone was more than just physical. It was a warming of the spirit, a gentle kindling of inner peace. Chapter 3: The Vale's Gentle Rhythms. The days in the Whispering Vale unfolded with the slow, deliberate grace of an unfurling fern, each one a soft echo of the last, yet unique in its subtle shifts of light and gentle sound. Elian fell easily into the Vale's languid rhythms, waking not to a jarring summons, but to the gradual brightening of the filtered sunlight that painted the dew-kissed leaves in hues of pale lemon and soft apricot. The air in the early morning was cool and carried the clean scent of damp earth and the luminous moss, which still held a faint pearlescent sheen from its nighttime vigil, its subtle glow receding as the sun's own gentle radiance grew stronger. Breakfast was a simple affair. A few sweet wild berries gathered from low-growing bushes whose leaves were soft as lamb's ear, and water sipped from a cupped leaf, cool and tasting faintly of stone and green growing things. Much of Elian's time was spent in quiet companionship with the sunstones. Each stone seemed to possess its own subtle variation of the resonant hum, a slightly different timbre to its warmth, a unique pattern to its ancient weathered surface. Elian would often sit nestled against one, feeling its steady, comforting pulse become as familiar and reassuring as their own breath, a constant, gentle anchor in the profound stillness of the Vale. It was here, resting in the stone's embrace, that Elian began to notice the more intricate details of the Vale's quiet life, the way a tiny iridescent beetle, no bigger than a dewdrop, navigated a blade of grass with meticulous care, or how a spider's web, strung between two nodding flower stalks, transformed into a net of liquid diamonds when the sun caught it just so. The flora of the Vale was a source of gentle wonder. The luminous moss with its deep green velvet texture during the day would, as twilight began to weave its soft dusky threads through the trees, awaken with its own quiet light. This was not a stark, assertive glow, but a soft, ethereal shimmer, pulsing almost imperceptibly, casting faint dancing shadows and bathing the immediate vicinity of the sunstones in a tranquil, otherworldly luminescence. Its scent, always present but more noticeable in the cool of the evening, was a delicate blend of fresh earth and sweet, clean grass, a perfume that seemed to cleanse the air and soothe the mind. And then there were the zephyr lilies, their bell-shaped blossoms the color of a soft dawn blush, hidden in the shadier, more secluded corners of the Vale. When the gentlest of breezes, hardly more than a sigh of air, passed through them, they would release, not pollen, but tiny shimmering motes of light like captured star stuff that would drift and dance in the air currents, carrying their faint, comforting scent of warm honey and chamomile before settling like a benediction on whatever they touched. One afternoon, whilst Elian was quietly observing the slow unfurling of a new leaf on a young sapling, its color a tender, almost translucent green, a small creature made its appearance. It was a sylvan vole, perhaps, though unlike any vole Elian had seen before. Its fur was the soft, delicate gray of brush thistledown, and its eyes were like tiny, polished beads of jet, full of a calm, gentle curiosity. It emerged from a network of rustling roots at the base of an ancient, broadly sighing tree, whose bark was as smooth and cool as river-washed stone, and paused, twitching its diminutive nose as it regarded Elian. There was no fear in its gaze, only a quiet assessment. After a moment, it gave a soft, almost inaudible chitter, and then proceeded to forage amongst the fallen leaves, its tiny claws making the softest of scratching sounds, a delicate addition to the Vale's symphony of peace. Elian watched the sylvan vole with a gentle stillness, careful not to make any sudden movement that might startle the creature. There was a sense of shared tenancy in the Vale, a quiet understanding between all its inhabitants, two-legged or four. The vole, seemingly content with Elian's peaceful presence, continued its unhurried search for seeds or tiny roots, its movements economical and graceful. The simple act of observing this small life, so perfectly at home in its tranquil world, brought a profound sense of connection, a feeling of being woven into the very fabric of the Vale's gentle existence. The days were not measured by tasks or appointments, but by the slow transit of light across the Vale floor, the gradual deepening of shadows, the subtle shift in the angle of the sunbeams filtering through the leaves. Sometimes, Elian would find a smooth, flat stone near the almost silent rill that trickled at the vale's lowest point, and simply listen to the water's soft conversation with the pebbles, a sound as soothing and ceaseless as a lullaby. The water itself was so clear it was almost invisible, revealing the variegated colors of the stones beneath, each one unique, each one smoothed by time and current. Evenings brought a deeper hush, the luminous moss casting its gentle glow, the air cooling and carrying the scent of dew-laden foliage, and the faint sweet perfume of the zephyr lilies responding to the night's soft breath. Elian would often sit with a sunstone then, feeling its stored warmth radiate outwards, a comforting presence in the gathering dimness, while the stars, appearing one by one in the darkening sky visible through the gaps in the canopy, seemed brighter and closer here, their ancient light untroubled by any earthly glare. The vale's gentle rhythms had become Elian's own, a slow, peaceful pulse that resonated deep within. The occasional discovery of a perfectly shaped feather, perhaps from a bird with plumage the color of twilight skies, or a uniquely patterned stone, smooth and cool to the touch, would be a small, quiet event, cherished for its simple beauty. These tiny treasures were not collected, but admired in their place, left as part of the Vale's understated artistry. Life here was not about acquisition, but about appreciation, a gentle unfolding of awareness in response to the subtle wonders that surrounded Elian at every turn, each breath a soft affirmation of peace found. Chapter 4. The Quietening Mind. As the sun-warmed days melted one into the next, as seamlessly as water flowing over smooth stones, the constant gentle thrum of the sunstones and the immersive sensory tapestry of the Whispering Vale began to work a profound alchemy within Elian. Thoughts which once might have darted and flickered like restless birds now settled, growing quiet and calm, like those same birds coming to rest on a familiar, welcoming branch. The ceaseless inner chatter softened to a mere whisper, then often to a contented silence, leaving space for a deeper, more peaceful awareness to bloom. It was as if the veil itself, with its ancient, soothing resonances, was gently coaxing Elian's mind to match its own unhurried pace. The sensory details of the veil became richer, more vibrant as the internal noise subsided. Elian noticed the intricate lace-like patterns of veins on a fallen leaf, the almost imperceptible shimmer of heat rising from a sunstone at midday, the way sunlight fractured into 1,000 tiny rainbows in a single dewdrop, clinging to a strand of spider silk. The scent of warm stone mingled with the sweet perfume of crushed herbs underfoot, and the delicate, almost vanilla-like fragrance of a particular shy white flower that bloomed only in the deepest shade became distinct and cherished notes in the Vale's olfactory symphony. Each breath was an experience, drawing in not just air, but the very essence of the Vale's tranquility, its warmth, its gentle fragrances, its profound stillness. There grew within Elian a profound sense of acceptance, a quiet surrender to the present moment. The need to do faded, replaced by the simple joy of being. Watching a fluffy seed head detach from its stalk and drift lazily on an almost imperceptible air current tracing its slow, spiraling descent to the soft earth, became an observation of immense beauty and significance. It was a meditation in miniature, a reminder of the gentle, unforced cycles of nature, and Elian felt a part of that same peaceful rhythm. There was no past to regret, no future to anticipate with anything other than quiet hope. There was only the now, rich and full and deeply serene. One afternoon, a soft sun shower passed over the vale, lasting only a few moments. Elian nestled under the broad, protective leaves of an ancient tree whose bark felt like cool, dry parchment, watched as the raindrops, each one a tiny, perfect sphere, pattered gently on the foliage, creating a soothing, rhythmic drumming. The air filled with the rich, clean scent of baked earth drinking in the moisture, a perfume that spoke of renewal and deep refreshment. When the shower passed as quickly as it had come, the vale seemed to shimmer, every leaf and blade of grass adorned with glittering droplets, the sunlight transforming the entire scene into a wonderland of sparkling jewels. The simple act of witnessing this transient beauty filled Elian with a quiet, expansive joy. Meals remained simple, yet deeply satisfying. Berries gathered from sun-dappled patches, their skins warm, their juice sweet and tangy. Tender young leaves with a surprisingly nutty flavor, and water, always cool and pure, sometimes warmed with a few fragrant herbs found growing near sunstones, releasing a comforting, savory steam. Elian would prepare these modest repasts with a mindful attention, appreciating the colors, the textures, the subtle aromas. Eating became not just a necessity, but a quiet ritual of gratitude, each mouthful savored, each sip a moment of connection to the vale's gentle abundance. The sylvan vole sometimes made an appearance during these quiet meals, its tiny presence a companionable addition to the stillness, accepting a proffered berry with a delicate twitch of its whiskers. One evening, as the luminous moss began its soft, pearlescent glow, painting the undersides of ferns with a gentle, ethereal light, Elian sat with their back against a favored sunstone, its warmth a familiar comfort seeping through their clothes. Looking up through a break in the canopy, Elian observed the first stars beginning to prick the deep velvet of the sky, their light ancient and serene. A feeling of immense peace settled over Elian, a sense of being infinitesimally small yet intimately connected to the vast, quiet universe. Thoughts were few, and those that arose were like soft clouds drifting across a summer sky, unhurried and leaving no trace. The gentle hum of the sunstone, a constant subtle lullaby, seemed to permeate Elian's very being, smoothing away any remaining furrows of worry or unease. Elian's breath was slow and even, rising and falling with an effortless rhythm. A soft warmth spread through their limbs, a pleasant heaviness that spoke of deep relaxation. It was in these moments of profound quietude that Elian felt the true gift of the Whispering Vale. Not just an escape, but a returning, a coming home to a place of inner stillness that had always been there, waiting to be rediscovered beneath the noise of the everyday. There was no struggle, no effortful seeking of peace. It simply arose, naturally and gently, from the immersion in this sanctuary of soft sensations and quiet wonders. Elian felt their shoulders drop, releasing a tension they hadn't even been aware of holding, and a soft, almost unconscious sigh of contentment escaped their lips. The quietening of the mind was not an emptiness, but a fullness of a different kind, a fullness of presence, of peace, of a gentle, unwavering awareness of the profound beauty in the simplest of things. Chapter 5. Carrying the Resonance. One morning, Elian awoke to a new quality in the air of the Whispering Vale. A gentle, pearly mist, finer than spun silk, had drifted in overnight, veiling the familiar shapes of the sunstones and the surrounding trees in a soft, ethereal shroud. It did not feel melancholic, this mist, but rather like a tender drawing of a curtain, a subtle signal that a cycle was reaching its quiet completion. The luminous moss still held a hint of its nighttime glow, diffused by the mist into an even softer radiance, and the usual chorus of morning bird calls was more muted, as if the birds themselves were observing a respectful hush. Elian breathed in the cool, damp air, which carried the scent of wet leaves and the faintest trace of the sunstone's earthy warmth, and felt a deep sense of wholeness, a quiet joy that had settled within their heart like a smooth, perfectly warmed pebble found on a sunlit shore. The days spent in the vale, cradled by its gentle rhythms and the soothing hum of the sunstones, had worked their quiet magic. The peace Elian had found was not a fleeting sensation, but something that had become woven into the very fabric of their being, a deep, resonant calm that felt as natural and effortless as breathing. The lines of worry that might have once subtly etched themselves around Elian's eyes had softened, replaced by a look of serene contemplation. There was a lightness in Elian's step, a quiet confidence that came not from worldly achievement, but from an intimate reconnection with the simple, profound truth of inner stillness. The veil had shared its most precious gift, the deep, unwavering peace of simply being. With a gentle deliberateness, Elian prepared for departure. There was no sadness in this, only a quiet gratitude for the sanctuary found and the restoration received. A few carefully chosen smooth leaves were gathered to wrap the last of the sweet berries, and water was drawn one last time from the tiny, chuckling rill. Elian paused by each of the sunstones, laying a hand upon their warm, familiar surfaces, feeling that gentle, life-affirming hum one final time. It was not a farewell, but an acknowledgement, a silent thank you for their ancient, unwavering companionship and the soothing resonance they had so freely offered. The warmth seemed to linger on Elian's palm, a comforting memory to carry forth. The sylvan vole, as if sensing the shift, appeared briefly from its den amongst the roots, its thistledown fur touched with droplets of mist. It regarded Elian with its usual calm, jet-black eyes, then gave a soft, almost inaudible squeak before vanishing back into the green shelter, a quiet blessing bestowed. Elian smiled, a soft, gentle expression that mirrored the peace within. The memory of the sunstone's gentle vibration, the comforting weight of their warmth, the sight of the luminous moss beginning its soft glow at dusk, the delicate scent of zephyr lilies on the breeze. All these sensory treasures were now imprinted, not just in memory, but seemingly upon Elian's very soul, a portable sanctuary to be revisited in quiet moments. As Elian stood at the Vale's unassuming entrance, ready to step back onto the old track, they took one last long look at the mist-softened haven. The air still carried that faint warm hum, the signature of the Sunstone's gentle power. A soft breath, indeed, a very gentle place, Elian thought, the familiar comforting phrase echoing the deep contentment found there. The decision to leave was not spurred by restlessness, but by a quiet knowing that the restoration was complete, and the peace found here was now a part of Elian, ready to be carried out into the wider world. It felt like a soft exhalation, a gentle release after a period of profound, restful inhalation. Stepping back onto the path that led away from the Whispering Vale, Elian noticed that the world beyond seemed subtly changed. Or perhaps it was Elian who had changed. The light filtering through the trees seemed softer, the colors of the wildflowers along the path more gentle, their hues more tender. The sounds of the wider world, when they eventually began to filter back, felt less jarring, more distant, buffered by the profound calm that now resided within. Elian carried the quiet strength and serenity of the Vale, not as a shield, but as a soft, internal glow, a gentle resonance that harmonized with the peaceful aspects of whatever lay ahead. The journey continued, but now it was a journey accompanied by an enduring, quiet song, the echo of the Sunstone's gentle resonance.